Well, a very, very warm welcome to our Living Values webinar. It's evening in the UK, but you may be listening to this somewhere else in the world, or you can listen to the recording, which we record, and it's also on the Living Values website. And I know a lot of people visit the website in order to listen to our webinars. This is one of a series of many webinars, and we've always been really fortunate to have such marvelous people and great communicators on our webinars. My name is Neil Hawkes. I'm fortunate and honored to be chair of Living Values in the UK. No, not in the UK, in the British Isles. And Lynn will correct me if I say anything else. But it's a joy to be with you. I've been personally looking forward to this evening very much because our speaker this evening is Sue Bottomley. Sue, I've known for quite a long time now, and I've always been so impressed with her presence. She has an incredible calm presence, which is wonderful. She's been trained in a trauma work, and she's been a coach. She's done so many things, which is so impressive. She ignites this spark of imagination and inspiration in us, and that's what I felt when I've heard her before. Sue is best known for her exquisite depth of presence and her cultivated capacity to sort of make us all feel light and playful in the way that she sets up. She can be challenging at times, and rightly so. But I've always found her a wonderful communicator. She wrote and she put one phrase about herself, which really resonated with me. She says, "The glass is always full of what you know and what you don't know yet." And I thought that was a marvelous frame. So without any more ado, get ready to slow down, focus, and embody your inner wisdom. Sue, a warm welcome to you. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Neil. I really appreciate those lovely words. So where do we start? I think we'll start in our time-honored way, especially with pause, by just pausing. So I invite you to find your feet on the floor. Find yourself sitting comfortably in your chair. Just taking a minute to pause. Let's continue in this mode just for a moment or two. And as you pause now, have the courage to become fully present to yourself. It takes courage to be aware, to reflect deeply, to fully see and feel yourself. We're going to look at the subject of courage today, or reflect on the subject of courage today. It's a huge topic, and we can only co-create a few ripples on the surface. It takes courage to be aware and to reflect deeply and to fully see and feel yourself. So let's begin starting close in. Notice how your feet connect to the earth. The earth is our playground for being human. Do your feet feel heavy, deeply connected, present? Do they feel light, as if they're dancing over the earth. Nothing wrong, just notice. Nothing to change, just notice. Just focus on your feet. The shape of your feet. What might you be wearing on your feet? As your feet meet the ground, do you lean slightly inwards? There's more weight on the left than the right, or right than the left, just notice. Is a foot in front or behind or equal? Just notice. Now begin to place your attention on your length. We say the length is from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head. And our length represents our sense of pride and dignity. As you focus, are you honoring your own natural height, your length? Or in the business of your life, do you feel overstretched? Or playing a little smaller? What feels to be your natural height, your length? And I wonder what might happen if you slightly straighten your back. Notice the difference in sensations in your torso and in your awareness. Now place your attention on your width. Say the width is each side of your face, each side of your neck, your shoulders, waist, your hips, down your legs to your feet. Your width represents your sense of safety and belonging. Notice if you feel any tensions, any constrictions you're pulling in, or if you're feeling so expanded, you're wide open. Notice if you're feeling safe within yourself, within the group. If you don't feel safe, what's that about? If you don't belong, what's that about? It's the origin. Making nothing wrong, just noticing. Nothing to change, only to notice. And now let's pay attention on our depth. Our depth is our front to the back, our back to the front. Our back represents all that has gone on before. Everything we've experienced from our culture, learnings, parental, ancestral, genetics, patterns of behavior, all sorts, often formed from surviving this chaotic and beautiful world. Just pay attention to your back and thank your back for holding this wisdom. The accepting of all that has gone on before, the choices made for the paths walked. These have created who you have become today. And now place attention on your front, your open belly, your warm heart, your smiling eyes. Do you feel guarded, ready to deflect? Or are you open to embrace a choice you make and that only you can make? Breathe now fully. Inhale fully, exhale completely. Bringing the exhalation to your heart. Bringing the inhalation into your heart. Inhale deeply, exhaling completely. I invite you to breathe and be open now. Be open and courageous to receive to what is waiting to emerge for you. As Neil said, one of my favorite phrases is, the glass is always full. It's full of what we know, and it's full of what we don't know yet. You may have a very full glass, or a glass where there is no space for expansion, where there's no space to hear, feel, sense what's waiting to emerge. So today's session may be about emptying, or today's session may be about filling. It's about becoming aware. Okay, so when you're ready, take a deep breath in. Thank you for listening, and open your eyes if they were closed, and we'll begin. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the value of courage. It's a huge topic, and we're only going to hit very, very, very close to the surface of this. I think there's courage to slow down. There's courage to inquire. There's courage needed in many, many reasons and many, many ways. And as one of my very favorite people in the world, Brené Brown, said, the root of the word courage is cor, C-O-R, a Latin word for heart. One of its earliest forms, the word courage had a very different definition than it does today. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. I love that phrase. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. Over time, of course, this definition has changed, as most of them do. And today, courage is more synonymous with being heroic. Being heroic is important. We certainly need heroes, but I think we've lost touch with the idea that speaking honestly and openly about who we are, what we're about, what we're feeling, and about experiences, both good and bad, is the definition of courage. Heroics is often about putting our life on the line. Ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. And in today's world, that's pretty extraordinary. I just have to digest the words as I read them as well from that place. This really was one of the reasons Pause was born back in 2005. We offer a series of multi-layered programs and circles. And really they're about a journey of self-discovery, of fine-tuning, of owning who we are, living our values, and really showing up. We're offering safe spaces to reflect, and that's hopefully what we're providing today for you. A place to look in the mirror and meet each other and ourselves in a loving, authentic, and respectful manner. It's about finding that inner peace. It's about owning who we are and living from what we call the essential self. And as Neil very kindly said, a lot of our work is really about slowing down and escaping the hamster wheel of life. I think we're all on it. I don't think there are too many exceptions. All we ask is that you notice what you notice. You'll hear that phrase quite a few times, maybe today. We ask you to really breathe, inhale fully and exhale completely. In fact, the yogis, they say the idea of a long, pleasant life is to breathe 8 times a minute. It takes a lot of discipline. I haven't achieved it quite yet. It's about becoming present to our thoughts, to the games that we all play on ourselves and on others, to the body shape and the wisdom that we hold. And we concentrate on what we call deep listening. And in particular, listening to what's emerging. Listening in, quietening the mind, feeling the gentle nudge in the direction of the next step that's yours to take. I don't know if you know it, but there's a beautiful poem called Listening by a lady called Marva Shand McIntosh. And I'm going to read this to you. You can listen with your eyes open or your eyes closed, whatever is less distractful for you. And I always provide this poem because it's something that speaks to me as I read it, something that resonates within me. It's a reminder. It's an invitation. It's a way of being with myself, and it's a way of being with others. It goes like this. Today I will listen without interrupting, without prejudging, without second guessing, without gazing, without rehearsing, without discounting, without filtering, without correcting, without contradicting. Today I will just listen. Today I will listen with attention, with humility, with respect, with patience, with understanding, with awe, with gladness, with empathy, with warmth, with gratitude, with reverence. Today I will just listen. Just listen deeply, digest the words, let them resonate. I'll read the poem once again and then we'll move on. So I invite you today. Today I will listen without interrupting, without prejudging, without second guessing, without gazing, without rehearsing, without discounting, without filtering, without correcting, without contradicting. Today I will just listen. Today I will listen with attention, with humility, with respect, with patience, with understanding, with awe, with gladness, with empathy, with warmth, gratitude, with reverence. Today I will just listen. So this is how I invite you to listen into the remainder of our circle, our conversation, reflection today. I'm just going to say one thing. One thing that I do love about Living Values in Education, the people who are part of this community, this tribe. When I'm with people, I feel heard. I feel respected. I feel valued. I feel seen. I feel witnessed. I feel validated. Sometimes it feels authentic, sometimes not, but mostly authentic. And that's what I love about this community. It creates a sense of belonging, a sense of being, and it actually holds me to my highest potential and possibility. And I don't think there's anything that you could pay that will give that value to ourselves. So I'd like to thank everybody here in this community, people who are here today, people who are not here today, people I've seen and met, and people who I haven't yet. So thank you. And thank you for being who you are. You're beautiful people. Okay, so in a time-honored way now, I'm going to tell you a story. You may have heard this story before. I'd like you to listen with those new ears, those attentive, valuing, witnessing ears. I invite you to sit comfortably, and I'll begin. It's the story of the Golden Buddha. You may have heard it. It's a well-known story. It's got many takes on it. This is my version of it. Put your listening ears on. Because once upon a time, a long time ago, in a city called Bangkok in Asia, there was a beautiful golden Buddha that stood tall and proud, protecting the entrance to a monastery. Wise and humble monks lived at the monastery, and when they heard that a tribe of fierce warriors was soon to arrive, they knew that the golden Buddha would need to be protected and hidden from sight. What to do? Well, the monks meditated together, and they decided to cover the entire golden Buddha with thick layers of clay, mud, dirt, bricks, anything they could find. And after a few weeks of hard toil, the Buddha was soon totally covered and took on the shape of a hill. And these fierce warriors arrived. The peaceful monks and townsfolk were no match for them. Pleas for mercy went unheard. Homes were looted and set on fire, and the monks, alongside their many townsfolk, were slaughtered. Nobody was left to tell the tale of the golden Buddha, which remained covered until the mid-1950s. When, on one very hot day, after many months of drought, a bit like we have here today, a huge clay hill began to crack due to the heat. A terrified novice monk was sitting where the crack appeared. He thought he saw something shining, and he began to dig with his hands. And then, calling for help, some monks arrived to investigate, and they shined the flashlight on the largest of the cracks. What they saw surprised everyone, because deep under the grey clay was a gleam of gold. So word was spread, and the monks and locals were joined by engineers, experts from afar, and carefully uncovered the golden Buddha, which stands tall in Bangkok to this day. So, why do I tell you the story of the golden Buddha, I wonder? And what's it got to do with pausing? And what's it got to do with courage? And what's it got to do with values in general? Well, at Pause, myself and my colleagues, we believe that we each have a golden Buddha within us, a true nature, a Buddha that can never be damaged, can't be tarnished, a golden Buddha that will always be perfect. It's the core of who we are. The monks disguised the beauty of the golden Buddha in order to protect it during the dangerous times that they lived in. And we as people, often as children, we developed to shell ourselves, a bit like an armor plating, to protect us and to help us deal with the many life pressures and stresses that we experience. And as we grew up, we increasingly internalized those judgments and the values of our society at the time. And we further lost touch with our innocence, with our creativity, and especially with our tender hearts. Our gold. And even today, people often continue to cover the gold. We seek approval from other people, we're looking good, measure our self-worth, or measure our valuable worth, financial worth. We look to see if we're good enough, smart enough, successful enough. Usually we're not enough. And pause really is that invitation to remember. And it's the invitation to reconnect with the gold within you. That gold never left you, and it never will. I'm here to remind you that you're always enough. And that the gold, the light, the trust, and the love of our true nature cannot be dimmed, tarnished, or erased. It calls to us daily through our longing for connection, our urge to understand our reality, our delight in our beauty, and our natural desire to help others. Just a tiny reminder of why we pause. So I think what we'll do now is have a little time to engage with ourselves. It takes courage to speak from the wisdom of our own golden Buddha. We are often speaking and relating to each other from the gold of our ego. Living values have some beautiful values. They have the values of peace, of respect, of love and caring, of tolerance, simplicity, of honesty, of happiness, responsibility, etc. And on the surface, these values really appear quite easy in favorable conditions, I'd say. But what about the times when we just don't feel up to them? Those times like being peaceful. Well, it's not so easy to be peaceful if it's chaotic and you're irritated or annoyed by what's going on. It's very difficult, I think anyway, to be respectful of all people, especially if you're not too keen on the person. And to be honest, being loving and caring might be the last thing you feel like being at the end of a long and stressful day. So I'm talking about the courage to be these things in what we call unfavorable conditions. When you really don't feel like it. And you want to be authentic. You want to be real. You want to be honest. Those times. So I have a great friend called David Whyte. He's a poet. You may have heard of him. He's got quite a few poems. He's moved into the era of philosophy now, I think, really. And he said this about courage. Courage is the measure of a heartfelt participation with life, with another, with a community, a work, a future. And to be courageous is not necessarily to go anywhere or to do anything except to make conscious those things we already feel deeply, and then to live through the unending vulnerabilities of those consequences. It's a bit of a mouthful. I can put those into the chat later or send a PowerPoint later with that included. And I thought that for our reflection today, which we can all join in with, is this question: what do you feel deeply about? Why is it important? And what are the consequences in living this way? You might think, what's the value you feel deeply about? Or what's courage that you feel deeply about? What would be courageous for you? I'm going to put that question in the chat, then I invite a conversation around this. And when we have this conversation, it's going to be slightly different. I'm going to suggest that we each take 3 to 5 minutes each to really reflect on the question and to give ourselves space to go deeper into the question, into the meaning for you. And that we all listen deeply with loving eyes, open hearts, without judging, without wanting a conversation without interrupting, without moving towards or away, just being with that person and listening to their thoughts, their meanings. So first of all, the question will go in the chat. Just have to bear with me a minute. Here we go. What do you feel deeply about? Why is this important? What are the consequences? Of living this way? Okay, so I've posted that there. What values do you feel deeply about? Why is this important or these important? What are the consequences of living this way? So I think what we'll do, if it's okay with you, we'll go around in a sort of popcorn manner. I'd like you each to reflect on the question and share. Being aware that when you're sharing, it's maybe heard by more people than are on the calls today. And whoever would like to start, please start. Remembering that we're not having a conversation, we're having a deep listening session, very brief session.
I would like to speak, if I may. I'm finding my memories beginning to go, and I haven't written anything down. And I'm not very good at retaining things for a short space of time in order to hold the attention on it and focus on it. And I wondered if you would mind if I went away and got a pen and a pencil and wrote down things from me.
At all.
Thank you. And sorry about that.
I think we'll just wait. I'm assuming Christine's coming back. Oh, she's here. There we go. Thank you for being so honest as well, Christine. Sorry, I can't hear you. You're on mute, I think.
It's a long, long time since I was on my living values experience down in Newnham. And it's about 20 years. And I haven't got the books anymore. I've lent them to a person who I was hoping might be sharing us this experience tonight. She has recently had an operation yesterday, in fact, so she's not really probably well enough to attend. And I'm needing to write down the values while they're in my head. So please, will you excuse me while I try and do that?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak whilst Christine's writing? Courage to speak. Hi, Lynn.
Hello. I've written down honesty. And why is this important? I think for me, it makes life straightforward and uncomplicated. And the consequences of this are, obviously, it's simpler for me, but I can upset other people if I don't know when to be quiet. So there's there's probably true for all of them. There's two sides to it, really. You can be too honest when it's unnecessary to be. No, you're honest to yourself, but you don't necessarily have to convey it entirely to other people.
Okay, I've got one. So one that popped into my mind was responsibility. And I was thinking more about, thinking about the context of responsibility of my kind of inner world, and keeping that, or just monitoring it really, and taking responsibility for the kind of thoughts that I create in response to situations, rather than, attributing it to the situations. And I feel the consequences of living this way, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes I fall asleep and start to think that somebody else is definitely to blame. But when I do that, then I feel it helps me to stay peaceful, and also potentially kind of joyful, because I feel like that's the only thing I've got control over anyway. So if I exercise that control in along with other values such as love, peace, and joy, then it has very positive consequences on my feelings.
Good, Joanna. Is there anything else? I just have a feeling there's something more that you wanted to share. I may be wrong.
No, that was it.
Oh, thank you. Neil, are you
Yes.
ready?
Well, yes and no is the answer to
Oh.
that. I found the question profoundly challenging, and my mind went to all sorts of things outside of myself. And then I returned to me. And for me at the moment, peace is the value that is that I think a lot about. I'm deeply concerned about the implosion of human beings in every situation. I am concerned that I maintain my own mental wellness, because I'm so aware in the interactions I have with so many people that because there's so much fear around, that people are not feeling peaceful. And if people collectively don't feel peaceful, then all sorts of things happen, as we are seeing. So this drives me to authenticity and being authentic. What I'm speaking about generally when I'm invited to speak is something called ethical leadership, and how we in the world can develop in ourselves ethical leadership, so that we lead ourselves from all the beautiful values that we always talk about, whilst recognizing that we're all on a journey and we're not perfect. So we're having to stop and listen and talk to others who might be wiser than ourselves. But if we can start leading ourselves more ethically, then I think we can then start leading organizations and others. You, Sue, said something about ego-driven behavior rather than heart-led behavior. And we need to energize the heart so that we are speaking authentically from our essence. I've been in conversation with a wonderful guy recently called Mark Williams. He's a professor of cognitive neurobiology in Australia. And he very kindly has been saying that the work that we are doing is really light years ahead of most, because we are doing for the brain what we need to do. And in a sense, we're revisiting our essence. We've somehow got away with that. I think it happened during the Renaissance, where people bought into Descartes' theory of I think, therefore I am. And we therefore become very cognitive, and I suffer from that, as I'm probably displaying now. And we need to re-energize the heart if we are to find this peace. So yes, peace is so vital, and then you have to think of all the other values that will help you be peaceful. Hope is, of course, an important one. But as I always remember, a little girl who was ordering values in a school once said to me, she said, Dr. Hawkes, all the values are important, but without love, we can't have any of the other values. And I thought that was, from a small child, quite profound. So that's why I think it's important. The consequences of living in a peaceful way is we create a peaceful world outside of ourselves, and we live more authentically and enjoy our lives and live lightly and with laughter and all the things that we should be living, and making sure that every human being has enough to eat, has a shelter, is valued as a human being, and that we always look at ourselves for anything that comes from our past. And again, referring to brain research, our brain is designed to have implicit bias. So we must be very mindful and always consider those things. So as I said at the beginning, this is a deeply challenging question, because it really makes you think. So thank you for the question, Sue.
My pleasure. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for the sharing. I'm so tempted to enter into a conversation. I am not going to. So, Ian, Ben, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name.
Yes, Huyen. Yes. Yes.
Well,
Thank you, Sue, for the questions. And I mean, I also feel like I feel it's quite hard to answer these questions. I also sometimes struggle to find the correct word to really describe what is my thought is. First, I'm thinking that I only can find one value that I feel deeply in. But then I see the S and I think, okay, it can be more than one. First is coming to me about like non-judgmental. But I think when Helen mentions about honesty, I think, okay, it's maybe also honesty. I feel like, so when I'm thinking about the way I feel only interested about the outside world and try to help others, I think the value I more want to working on is about happiness, peace, resilient. But when I think about myself, I think it's about honesty. It's about live honestly as I am. And then so sometimes I feel a bit like hard to speak out my real feeling and emotions. about the thing, about the object, because I think it may hurt others, or just something think that that thought maybe not mature enough. I need to slow down a bit, to thinking carefully enough before I speak up. And then it sometimes will become into the, okay, I need to filter my thought a bit. I need to filter what I'm saying. So it's just, yeah, I'm not really know how is it or say, but I think is important for me myself to be aware about this. And but I know that I just feel like, and from the childhood, I always hear people say that living honestly and innocence is not possible. And the more you grow up, the more you cannot be innocent and honest as the way you want and the way you treat people. And maybe because of this make me try to, authentic and treat people with love, but something also like, okay, that we will need to, filter a bit of our feeling, try to do it. And at some point I think, okay, because we think that is a way is the best for others, that's why we sometimes call white lie, or all of these things. Yeah, so that is just different feeling and thought when the questions arise. But thank you so much.
Thank you. There's so much wisdom here. Christina, is there anything you'd like to add, by the way? Just maybe you've been listening, I don't know. You put yourself off mute, that's it.
Yes, I've put it off now. Yes, I've been listening and finding it interesting, and I think I sense the lack of peace in people, and I sense it in myself. And one is constantly listening to the news and the negative stuff that keeps coming at us all the time. And yet I have hopes that rise, and I just try in a small way to reach out to people, to welcome them, and do things that will give joy, I hope, to others. Gathering flowers and giving them to people, or failing to, because I couldn't find the person I was trying to get the flower to today. And just smiling at people is important as well, and sharing the joy that you want them to feel when they're in a place that they don't know and they want to get to know and want to come in out of curiosity, and you welcome them, and it's an opportunity to share and to give to one another. And I was in the church I belong to today, cleaning the brasses on the front door and on the inner doors, and a person came in, and he was from Kazakhstan, and he's learning English, and he wanted to speak and use his language, his new language that he was learning. And it was really so nice to welcome him and invite him in and show him the building and say, I've been here for many, many years, and it's important to me. and I'm pleased you've come into it just out of curiosity and just shared with him that there was sunlight coming through the windows and shining down the white pillars and making it look like a rainbow on the pillar. And it was so beautiful. And we shared that together. And I'm sorry, I feel.
Sounds a special
Yeah.
moment.
It was a lovely moment, yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Christine. I think there's something very special about having what I call almost an innermost conversation, where we feel safe enough to belong and take off the masks, or some of the masks anyway. And I know one of my teachers, Swami Bharati, who I had as a Swami from being 18 or to be about 35, something like that. He used to always say, my cup of impatience always runneth over. I was such an impatient person. Yeah. But there's something really valuable in learning how to slow down, because it was not my natural nature, for sure. I'm still not sure that it is or ever will be, actually. But there's just something about the value of slowing down and unlearning our learning, is what he used to say. The route to inner peace is unlearning our learning. And really coming back to our heart. The heart knows the what, and the brain knows the how. And we've been almost educated through generations, not to put any blame on it, but really I think from the almost era of Aristotle, that our thinking is more important than our heart and our feeling. And really part of Pause and my work is to start unraveling or remembering the essence of really who we are, that golden Buddha in each of us. And if I'm having a conversation, have a conversation with the golden Buddha in each of us, I mean, the people that I'm speaking with or engaging with. It creates a new level of resonance, of radiance. I know Mark's work quite well, actually. And the neuroscience now is really showing that the more we engage with people, the more people will move towards us automatically. The more we disengage with people, even if we look engaged, the more they will move away from us. There's a lot of scientific evidence now that backs that up. The brain works differently. It senses a lot more than we think it takes. I think really the inner work for me, or the innermost work for me, is it's very easy to be, say, grateful towards other people, but how often are we grateful towards ourselves? It's very easy for many people to be kind to other people, but how often do we become kind to ourselves? It's very easy to be a gift to other people, but how often we a gift or accept the gift of ourselves to ourselves? I think those are the deep questions. And it comes to that essence, if you like, of we are enough. And we've often been educated that we're not enough. And because we're being educated, we're showing that we're not enough. So there's a lot here. I would love to continue conversations with everybody. I see Joanna has to leave, or it's left, not sure. But I think we're coming to the end now. If there are any questions, or if anybody would like to join a Pause Circle, I'm putting some details in a PowerPoint that will get sent out to you, no doubt. Our next Pause Circle is the 29th of September. It's 4 p.m. UK time, whatever that is in your own time. And it's for 90 minutes by Zoom, and there is no charge. We have a subject, what we call a beautiful question along the lines of today, and then we go from there. Okay, then, so I think we'll in a time-honoured way, call it a wrap. And thank you very much for listening and being here. Thank you. Can't hear you, Neil.
Forgot I was muted. Someone once said he ought to be muted. I'm practicing very hard, deep listening. And that's what I've been doing for this session, Sue. Yeah, for me, it was a profound session of an invitation to explore our internal world. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure the hearts of everybody here, for really, really taking us on a marvelous internal journey. I loved your story about the Golden Buddha. I remember hearing it a long time ago, but I'd forgotten it. And you reminded me of the wonderful story and the way we can think of that gold that's in each one of us. And it's so sad that so many people don't feel they have gold in them. And I think in our work in Living Values, we help people to rediscover that essential essence. And if we could do that worldwide, wow, wouldn't there be a transformation that would help our planet to flourish? So thank you very much, Sue. Thank you for offering a PowerPoint. I'm sure Lynn will be able to send it to everybody here. It's been a joy to see everybody who's come tonight too. The smiling faces all over the place. So thank you very much. Our next session will be on November the 8th, same time. I hope you can join us then. We're not quite sure who will be speaking that evening, but no doubt someone who's meant to be will be emerging. So once again, thank you very much, Sue. Thank you to all who have listened with us for this live event. And to those of you who are listening to the recording, we hope that you too have experienced what we have here in our session. It's been a really great one. Thank you very much, Sue. So may I wish you all well. Enjoy the rest of your days or whatever you're doing, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Neil.